A stranger story has rarely sounded so familiar. A household fractures, money becomes a language of control, distance promises freedom, and shame arrives with the silence of an empty stomach. The parable of the prodigal son begins like a cautionary tale, yet it quickly reveals itself as something more unsettling, a mirror held up to the ways love is resisted and misread. The younger son treats inheritance as entitlement and relationship as a burden to be cashed out, reducing the father to a means of self-realization. When the far country collapses into poverty and humiliation, the turning point is described with disarming simplicity. The son comes to himself. That phrase signals more than regret. It marks the moment when a false identity, built on appetite, autonomy, and performance, falls apart. Even the decision to return carries mixed motives, framed at first as a calculated plea for survival rather than a pure act of devotion. The parable's honesty about imperfect repentance is part of its power. The path home often begins with desperation, and yet even that thin beginning can become the doorway to restoration. Within Orthodox Christian tradition, this coming to oneself is heard as more than psychological clarity. It is the awakening of the nous, the heart's capacity to perceive God and reality truthfully. The far country is not simply a setting for bad choices, but an icon of exile from communion, the inward dispersion that follows when freedom is severed from love. The squandered inheritance signifies the wasting of divine gifts, life, baptismal grace, vocation, and the ability to desire rightly, until a famine reveals what disordered desire always produces. Hunger that cannot be satisfied by what first looked like independence. Even the degrading work among the pigs carries spiritual weight, portraying what the Orthodox tradition calls slavery to the passions, where the person is reduced not merely by external misfortune, but by a heart trained to feed on what cannot nourish. Yet the parable refuses to idealize repentance, and orthodoxy does not either. The first impulse to return is tangled with fear and necessity. Still, the movement matters. A beginning, however thin, is already a turning, and metanoia in the Orthodox sense is precisely this reorientation of the whole person, mind, desire, and body, toward the Father's house, away from the isolation that masquerades as self-possession. The Father's response then reveals why this story stands at the threshold of Great Lent in the Orthodox liturgical cycle. Salvation is not presented as a legal settlement, but as restoration to communion and sonship. The Father does not negotiate a contract or offer a reduced status. He runs, embraces, and interrupts the rehearsed speech that tries to convert relationship into wages. The robe, ring, and sandals function as signs of reinstatement, honor returned, identity restored, and freedom recovered, echoing the Church's insistence that grace does not merely pardon, but heals. The feast likewise becomes more than celebration. It is an image of Eucharistic joy, the Father's table where the lost are not tolerated at the edges, but brought into the center. In Orthodox life, this has concrete expression. Repentance is enacted in confession, in fasting that reorders desire, in almsgiving that breaks the grip of self-protective possession, and in forgiveness that refuses to keep accounts. None of this earns the Father's embrace. It cooperates with it, making room for the homecoming that mercy initiates. The parable's scandal is that the Father's love is not rationed according to the standards of wounded pride, and the Orthodox proclamation presses that scandal into the heart. God's readiness to receive is greater than human readiness to return. The story's final tension, however, is not the younger son's collapse, but the older son's refusal to enter, and Orthodox tradition hears here a warning aimed especially at religious seriousness that forgets joy. The older brother's vocabulary is the vocabulary of wages, service, command, reward, and it reveals a subtle estrangement that can exist even within the Father's house. This is the temptation of self-justification, treating obedience as leverage and another person's restoration as an insult to fairness. The Father's reply does not shame the elder son. It invites him to conversion as well, exposing the deeper issue that can corrupt even virtue, envy, resentment, and the need to be proven right. The open ending functions like a final liturgical question, placed before the worshipper as Lent nears, whether to remain outside, guarding a private ledger of merit, or to enter the feast where mercy is joy, and joy is the true sign of communion. In this orthodox frame, the parable becomes a map not only for those who have obviously wandered, but for anyone whose heart has grown cold. The homecoming sought is not merely a return to rules, but a return to the Father, to the Church as household, and to the shared gladness that erupts when the lost are found and life is raised from the dead.